Hi there, and welcome back to the Fuse Show. Today we have Hasan. Hasan is the CEO and co-founder of Diggipacks.com. They're a up-and-coming leader in the 3PL and tech platform space. Thanks for joining us in the show.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks very much for having me on board.
So 3PL is an industry I know very little about, and it's very broad in its scope. Can you dive into specifically what Digipacks does and how you come to tackle that problem?
Absolutely. So Digipacks is a concept which is a new concept in the global aspect of the logistics, which is a 4PL aggregator. And when we talk about the definition of first, second, third, and fourth PL aggregators, what's the difference between them? That the 3PL in the market, they used to have assets, either delivery, vehicles, trucks, vans, or even warehouses and fulfillment centers. We intend to utilize their assets by utilizing the space management, fulfillment services, or even the delivery within last mile companies, first mile, and trucking business. By integrating with these companies, pushing more orders and sales, and utilize their business and capacity as well.
So when you say 4PL, so I'm aware of that 3PL stands for third-party logistics. What is the 4 and 4?
It's a fourth-party logistics, but instead of having or owning the assets, it's like a broker kind of model. But now there's a new concept called the 5PL as well, by having the end-to-end solutions between the freight forward, custom clearance, line haul, first mile, last mile, and whatever in between logistics. But instead of having my own segments and investing in the assets, I intend to focus more on getting the contracts on the table on the sales and marketing and utilizing the 3PLs in the market. So for me, instead of having a capacity, for example, of 100,000 orders per day as a last mile company, I can triple, I can quarter, even 10 times the amount by having 10 contracts on my table, integrated with these 10 companies and having a 1 million transaction per day as a capacity.
So the way I view it is kind of like a marketplace where you're trying to pair suppliers and those who demand the service.
Okay. The only thing that it's different between a marketplace and an aggregator is that the client, the end user, doesn't need to have the choosing between the companies and the definition. He needs one-stop shop and only having one contract, one definition, and one scaling or definition of the contract itself with the financial terms. And then we handle the follow-up, the operation, which comes in first as per capacity, per performance, or even the location, the coverage of these 3PLs in the market. So we intend, by using the technology and the integration, focusing on having the utilization of these 3PLs in the market, and at the same time, moving the burden of the logistics and operation and follow-up for the clients on board.
So just to make sure I speak correctly of Digipacks, do you consider yourself a 3PL, 4PL, or 5PL solution, or something entirely different?
We're right now as a 4PL aggregator and shifting into 5PL aggregator within the next couple of months. We already covered two aspects. Of course, we cannot cover the whole logistics end-to-end solution as once. We need to have it sector by sector. So we began in the last mile companies, as in parcels. We are integrated now with more than 35 plus companies in the Saudi market and the region. And we intend to move into the next phase is the fulfillment centers, as with the e-commerce platforms. So from the beginning for the e-commerce, we store their products, pick, pack, and package it, sending to their end user or their clients, and it's an end-to-end solution for the e-commerce. Next, moving onwards is the trucking business, and we had just begun it last month. And moving into it, it's a total different game, different sector, needs a specific experience in the segment itself. But as it goes and as the company grows, we're going to open sector by sector.
So did you start off as a 3PL platform and move towards a 4PL platform, or did you have a 4PL platform as the original idea from the very beginning?
Actually, we began as a SaaS company in 2018. And we provided the SaaS technology for last mile companies as delivery. Plus, we began shifting to fulfillment technology in 2019. Then the concept began to be a little bit like broad in a way that, especially in the beginning of Corona and the spreading of the virus, the lockdown, we intended to get utilization of the assets in the market. And that time in Q2 2020, we clicked with a different perspective and a different business model. And then Digipacks was on the ground in the market.
That's really interesting because I usually hear logistics and operations moving towards the SaaS model, but I haven't heard the reverse direction. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, because the co-founders is already 20 years for myself and my co-founder, 18 years plus. We were into logistics, cold chain, parcels, fulfillment. So the previous 20 years or near so, we were diving in the 3PL concept, and we know ins and outs and all about the 3PLs. The 4PL is a different concept, and it's a bigger aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. So who are the target customers that you're working with now, and how is that different from the target customer you started off with in the SaaS model?
Perfect. So in a SaaS model, usually we're targeting the logistic companies. Anyone wants to dig in as a logistic company, as a parcel delivery company, or even a fulfillment, they're using our platform. In Corona period, in the starting of Corona, even the e-commerce platforms right now began to grow, and they themselves needed a fulfillment center or fulfillment technology to be based on. So that was their target audience. Now, any single e-commerce platform, even a micro e-commerce, is our target audience. So we've shifted totally from having like between 70 to 100 clients to more than 30,000 clients, having them on board and giving them the luxury of these services of fulfillment plus last mile.
So how small of a client would you go? Like, would you go to a mom and pop store who are just trying to sell I don't know, handmade crafts on like Etsy, or is that too small for you?
That's the best question ever, because nowadays we're trying to be there for the micro businesses before they grow up.
I see.
So and the challenge is that within the market, of course, the concept of the fulfillment itself, it's new. It's a blue ocean in the whole region in the Middle East. But even though the players in the market intend to focus on the big players only to get the more profit and more transactions, and leaving out the small, medium, and even the micro businesses aside. So we intend to focus even the micro business that they have on board. We can bring them, even if they have 5 orders, 10 orders per month, we don't care. As long as that they're going to pay the rent of the pins, the locations in the warehouse, we can pick back and proceed. And it's going to be a cost effectiveness for themselves, because logistics companies intend to have cost more on the e-commerce platforms if they deliver less in numbers. So in definition, we treat them as equal, and we're trying to give them a chance to grow and moving the operation and the concept of logistics aside, getting this headache specifically out of the picture.
Are you afraid of the logistical hells of just taking on a ton of clients, where call it 1,000 clients that all do 5 orders a month? Are you afraid of the amount of extra paperwork and organization required to manage all of that, or is that your ideal scenario?
So we intend to have everything digital, even the contract, the onboarding, even the landing page. When they come to us through the website, they just fill in the forms. They just go automatically, having a demo on board and having the transaction, the integration, the APIs between their platforms, Shopify, Magento, or whatsoever, even built up platforms. We already integrated there. So we intend to minimize the interaction between us and the client in order to having them on board as soon as possible.
So are you not involved in the process of handling the physical delivery, receiving, and sending out of goods? Does your your subcomponents of your the subcontractors you work with handle that for you, or is that something that you have to be involved in?
So we supervise every single location that we have contract with, and in each location you're gonna see one of our representatives available over there, in order to oversee the KPIs, the performance, the technology integration, and whatsoever. And even if we have some issues, God forbid, on ground, they can immediately support and report it to us directly. That's one thing. Second thing, we don't interfere. We just try to connect the dots between shipping their goods from their house, their office, or their location to the warehouse, and then allocating their SKUs on shelf as a product, then moving into towards integration and picking, packing procedure.
So no one from your team is doing the manual store. Okay, I see. I see.
And
And
that's the beauty about it. I mean, we intend to integrate, allocate, giving them our technology to use in the warehouses, moving aside the capex and the opex,
mhm,
being at the owner of the warehouse or the company itself, and leaving us freely to expand in other regions smoothly and fast.
I see. Would you happen to know what percentage of your customers operate on like a major platform, like call it eBay, Amazon, Etsy, or are they mostly private Shopify stores?
Till now, there are only e-commerces like Shopify or even built up from scratch in Magento or WooCommerce.
Mhm,
We intend to focus on these criteria at the beginning.
I see.
We had some interference and interaction with Amazon, for example, to have a connection with them. We have another company in the Middle East called Noon, which they're competitive to Amazon,
Mhm.
and we also have connection with them, especially when we're talking about allocation of fulfillment centers in other regions in the country itself. So we intend to grow with them, but not immediately from now. They have a specific criteria, specific definition of the packaging and preparing. We intend to focus on someone other than these two markets that are the marketplace for the products itself.
So the beauty of SaaS in general is the fact that you can write code in one location and apply it, I guess, infinite number of times across the entire globe. I guess the challenge in the logistics space is the fact that there's also a physical component where that like limits the scope of where your software can be applied. Do you have a rollout plan for international expansion, or do you want to, I guess, master a local market first before expanding to new regions?
Absolutely. So let's talk about the regional markets first. So the Middle East, it's like we have 23 countries in the region. These 23 are mostly not depending on the technologies. Some are already advanced on the e-commerce platforms and technology-based countries. One of them is Saudi Arabia, UAE, for example, and other countries where still the infrastructure doesn't help them to grow the business of e-commerce, for example, or even the drop shipping. So we intend to grow first in the region-wise. We have like 6, 7 countries that we are having close relation to and moving inwards within the next couple of months, having some hubs location these countries as fulfillments and last mile delivery, then moving to the next level internationally.
So for you to expand, you have to have, I guess, a lot of conversations with people on the ground who run these warehouses, run these, I guess, transportation services. How do you discover all of these services, and how do you, I guess, reach out to them if you don't have a warm connection already?
So the beauty about the market of the logistics, for example, especially when we're talking about the last mile companies, the delivery of the parcels, you can find one company that serves one country already having branches in other 20 country plus. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
even the integration with us, we can find the same elements, same coding with the integration, even with the countries like Egypt, Jordan, and whatsoever in the region. So there's no much definition, making it easy for us to expand over there. So having on board the general manager of for here, for example, in DHL, for example, in Saudi, we can talk to their colleague in Egypt and beginning discussion of how to expand over there and given the services. In the matter of e-commerce, we're already integrating with platforms who are having an expansion in the region, and they themselves have the interest to expand with us because of the quality of the service and having multi locations in other countries as well. So that's the much easier impact. And as soon as you kick off with a new concept, much faster and more quality in service with a low cost,
Mhm.
people, it's a word of mouth and you can spread easily in each country.
Are you ever afraid that the 3PL companies that you're working with would realize that they can make more money by, I guess, finding their own clients, or do you feel like that's a problem they choose to avoid just because of its operational complexities?
Well, to be honest, nowadays, even the 3PLs are coming to us because
I see.
it's all operation.
Yeah.
So they have, for example, if you want to give a service or a chance to choose for a 3PL between two choices, one, they have 1,000 order per location. or they have 1,000 order but spread around 100 locations with small or micro businesses.
Mhm.
So for them, it's much easier to go to one location, gather all what you have, and then beginning their operation and spreading. And it's cost effective for them as well.
I see.
So to lower the cost as soon as possible and as low as possible, depending on the fulfillment centers, and getting the hubs and the bulks of orders from these locations and expanding in their business as well. So we had no issues whatsoever with these companies to either make a contract and agreement, integrate with them, or even planning with the expansion in other cities and countries as well.
Do you ever have a scenario where you're working with one of these 3PL companies and they're just doing really well? So you're starting to route more, I guess, orders to them, and then another 3PL company that you're also, I guess, the aggregator for, but they aren't as good. So you over time you move away from them. Is that a thing that happens?
So it's based on the algorithm of the technology itself.
I
So
see.
as soon as the capacity plus performance plus location, the algorithm chooses company X to be one of the top three, for example, to choose until their capacity is full to
I see.
change into the second and third.
I see.
So we intend to push it by the algorithm through the system more and more. And they're going to have their judge on the KPIs and performance,
Mhm.
and they can like judge themselves how the service is and how they could improve themselves to the next level to be one of the top three, top five of these companies as well.
And let's say you have a like less than like ideal performer. Is it your intent to coach these companies and what they can be doing to improve those numbers?
Yeah, we try to push them in order to fill in the gaps, perform more, develop their gaps, especially when we're talking about they have the drivers, they have the assets, they have the vehicles, but
Mhm.
something is missing within the delivery because it's unified technology, unified integration. It's all a matter of how they perform between the supervisor and technology plus the drivers themselves. And till now, we didn't face such thing that we needed to pull in
I see.
uh, our enforces on the companies. They intend to battle between themselves and having the performance improved day by day and month by month.
Okay. So you probably don't spend too much time trying to tackle the performance issue. Okay, I see.
Yeah. So we're trying to focus on the follow-ups. Um, Delivery companies, when they see that we are an expert in what we do and we are an expert in the follow-ups as well, they know that it's difficult to mess with, and it's difficult to not only based on technology but based on the experience of the company or the performance of the co-founders or even the operation team inside our company. So whatever information that they have to give us, it has to be valid and very justified in a way that an expert understands.
So how do you price all of this? Like I imagine like or do you not even get yourself involved in the pricing equation? Like do you just forward the price on from your 3PLs and add on a margin like a fee on top of that? Or how does the consumer pay Digipacks for the involvement in being an aggregator?
Very good. So we invoice the companies or the clients as a 3PL,
Mhm.
and we intend to take a margin out of a cut out of the delivery services. And instead of having a definition of five core uh, like zones or definition of locations, we
Mhm.
try to squeeze the price of one or two maximum prices to make it easier for the client.
Mhm.
And at the same time, trying to buckle up and putting every single service in this price that even the client themselves, if they wanted to have a contract with these 3PL companies, there's a big challenge to have the same price
I see.
because we give more volume to these 3PLs. It's a very challenging point that they have an equal service and equal price as well.
Do you have a ballpark number of how many 3PL companies you work with currently?
Yeah, so now we have a contract with more than approximately 30, 36 companies right now. There are more than 170 companies in the market.
Hmm.
We intend to grow depending on the numbers. We don't want to add on companies without the utilization and giving more orders for them. We intend to have companies that they have benefits and we have benefits by onboarding them on the company as well, on the platform.
So what do you find to be like the limiting reagent that like prevents growth? Is it more demand for your service? Is it connections to the right 3PLs, or is it like your internal staff being able to, like, I guess, reach out to people and establish partnerships?
So we intend to grow. As I said, that we are still in the beginning of the company itself.
Mhm.
We just closed a pre-seed round, I think 2 or 3 months back, and this round helps us to focus more on the segment and having focus on the marketing as well as the sales. And the only prevention for us is to grow is for us to not wanting to grow.
Okay.
So the market is big, the market is huge. Um, there are challenges between companies, 3PLs, to having contracts on the table. But as soon as that you have a best proposed definition of the services, qualities, follow up, every single client wants to remove the burden of the logistics and follow up and focusing on their brand, their e-commerce, and their clients as well.
So we've talked about the relationship between a 3PL company and Digipacks, but we have yet to talk about the relationship between Digipacks and, I guess, the clients. How
Yeah.
do these clients choose the best 4PL company to work with? And how do they become aware of Digipacks?
So 4PL, like in the region, the overall region, as a 4PL specialized in the e-commerce, there is none, zero.
I see.
They're all 3PLs
Oh,
are
it's a blue ocean.
only,
Okay.
yeah, it's a blue ocean. It's a very blue ocean for the fulfillment. But when we're talking about the 4PLs, there's no one. So we don't have any challenges in expanding or even having a choice. They have a choice, of course, having services between us and a normal 3PL company as a fulfillment center or even a delivery company. And that's difficult to make a comparison between us and them
Right. Those are just
because of
different.
because of one reason. We have a multi-contract in one location. We have multi-capacities in one location, unlimited order management and fulfillment centers all around the market itself. So reaching to these clients are not difficult enough to convincing them, and especially when we have an easy terminology of the pricing structure as well. The other companies in the market having fulfillment, they have a complexity in the pricing of the order management, picking, packing,
Hmm.
packaging of the order management. We give a flat rate and a subscription package. Too difficult to object on.
I see.
Yeah.
Do you have guesses as to why there hasn't been a 4PL company in the past? I think at least in the Middle East region, I can see how being the first has a major advantage. I don't
Yeah.
know if the North America region, I don't know if it works the same way in the North America region, because I think that 4PL companies, I think there's multiple. I can't name any off the top of my head, but I
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
it's already been saturated. So what makes you
Yeah.
think the Middle East has been unsaturated so far?
The operation of end-to-end solutions under one platform. Previously, when we were talking about having contracts on the table as a normal 4PL company, without the integration or the platform established by technology, it's so difficult.
Okay.
So you have a team focused on trucking business, a team focused on warehousing, team custom clearance, and all of them having no interaction between them in the technology, and nothing putting them all in one platform altogether. So monitoring them is totally offline, manual concept as a broker concept, as simple as that, and forwarding order management or contracts or subcontracting with these companies. Now, by using the technology and using the end-to-end solution, this is the beauty about startups and how to grow segment by segment in the atmosphere of the logistics itself.
So I think if I were to start a company, like, logistics is like the hardest domain to get into, just because there's so many moving parts between
Yeah,
party A, party B, party B, party C, and so on.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the number of, like, components in the chain is really high. How'd
yeah.
you get started in, like, how did you know you wanted to create Digipacks, and like what led you to become a founder of this concept?
So the concept, as I said, I mean, we were like a SaaS company providing B2B technologies in last mile and fulfillment.
Mhm.
But the concept, as soon as the corona began to hit countries all around us, and starting the beginning of the spreading inside our country, the lockdown began in some cities. And we had the technology, we had the expertise of the 3PLs and delivery and fulfillment, and we had the connections between the cities and knowing that some locations within the same country are covered by certain 3PL companies that they don't need to cross-board or even go different cities to have their services. So what we did is like connected even internally within these cities who had a total shutdown, no entrance or no getting out of these cities. And we had the integration on board, we had the kickoff, and we had services that literally no one had because of the crossing borders, crossing between cities, and integration at once within these companies. As soon as the prototyping began, we kicked live. 2 months, we had thousands of orders, and we began to think it does work, and it has a value. So let's begin to recreate and rebuild the whole process and technology. We had a couple of months delayed, but the prototype was perfect. And after that, it was like history.
In the prototype version, what was the scope of the feature set?
So we would try to integrate pushing orders to 5 different companies and having orders from 4 cities.
I see.
And deliver between cities, between countries, between 3PLs as delivery companies. And all of these were operated by three persons, me, my co-founder, and one of the customer service team. And all in one dashboard, we had control, like a control office based. And in that time specifically, when we kicked off, it was like we were working from home, all of us 3. So imagine 3 guys on 3 dashboards operating from 4 cities, 5 cities with 5 different companies and thousands of orders coming in and out and payments and cash payments and going in and out by bank accounts smoothly, very smooth.
So how did you find these initial members to form your initial team?
Excuse me?
Oh, how'd you build your initial team?
So me and my co-founder had the interface for the same SaaS company. We had to grow more, and specifically for the fulfillment and the last mile expertise. And we began to have more employees from the market. We had some interviews and then easily coming them on board.
I see.
It wasn't difficult because we're very known in the market in our industry.
I see.
And people know us more about our service and what we provide. And it was like a click.
So it wasn't difficult at all to attract talent to your company.
Absolutely.
And I think if I understand,
especially in the segment.
You're 3 years into business, is that right?
In the SaaS, it began in beginning of 2018, and like Diggipacks in Q2 20.
I see.
Yeah.
How big would you say the current team is now?
Now we talk about 30 plus employees between technology, between operation and customer service. And we're moving into the third segment under the logistics. The beauty about our business is that everything's depending on technology and overseeing the transactions and overcoming between them. And we don't need to have more on the team. Instead of having investing in more and more people that we don't need, we invest on the talents of the technology itself and the customer service.
So you mentioned customer service. Well, what do you think constitutes top tier service?
So customer service, when we talk about having more follow-ups on the order management for the e-commerce, for example, having the supervision of the order management, the payments, finalizing their needs, receiving to the goods to the warehouses, picking, packing procedures, having the KPIs on board, and allocating the right people and pushing the KPIs on these locations of the fulfillment centers, pushing the KPIs also on the delivery companies, and satisfying the clients. So our clients are the e-commerce platforms owners. So we intend to satisfy them in any way.
Out of those 30 people, what's the percentage that are allocated to different domains of the business?
So the majority is in technology. So we have more approximately 18 or 19 all in tech.
Okay.
And the rest is between operation, customer service, and the co-founders and overseeing the company.
So there's different co-founders, right? How'd you choose to split up the different responsibilities, or how do you split the responsibilities?
So Amin is a co-founder based on the operation. He's hands-on operation, day-to-day practice and follow-up. Especially when we talk about his expertise as an on-ground operation. Myself, I'm focusing on the marketing, the reaching out to the companies, finalizing the contracts, agreements, and exposure of the company itself and the PR in the market.
Okay, I see. And was that an organic distribution, or did you have to like sit down one day and be like, okay, we can't all do everything, and we're gonna start dividing?
Of course, we had to have a splitting of the definition since day one.
Okay.
Unless we do it, nothing will work. So I handle everything related to the financials, economics, anything related to the contracts, agreements, legality, PR, and
Hmm.
he's hands-on on the operation of these transactions as well in his segment in the 3PL concept.
If COVID never happened, where do you think your company would be now?
That's a great question. Well, maybe the concept wasn't born. I don't know. But the COVID pushed us in a very dramatic, fast track movement as a startup.
Mhm.
And itself, now, even the legality of the company, we had a different brand as a SaaS. Now, the SaaS is part of Digipacks, to be honest with you, as a service as owned by SaaS, owned by Digipacks. But in the same time, if COVID that didn't happen, we would maybe continue in the SaaS business.
Hmm. Are you still choosing to commit resources for the long haul for the SaaS component of Digipacks? Like, is that a separate business within, or like a sub business that you want to forever grow, or do you want to divert more resources to the 4PL side of Digipacks?
Well, because even though we have a great experience in the Digipacks as a concept as an aggregator for 4PL, but still there's a big, huge opportunity in the e-commerce platforms when they have a certain time that when they grow, they have to have another option that they have to have their own warehouse, for example. But instead of going outside and using another different technology, they can use ours.
I
So
see.
we can give them the technology itself. That's number one. Number two, even the companies who have their own platforms, their own delivery companies, and they want to own their own fleet management, they can use our own technology as well. And this is only we will focus only on our country and some of the countries beside us. We have now contracts within the region and expanding more, and we're seeing the transfer of technology and like customization of every single business going tech, going
Mhm.
live, and going online. So it's a matter of being there for these companies as well.
As I'm not sure about how COVID restrictions are working internationally, but at least in the US, it seems like they're at least slowly choosing to reopen. Is that a similar scenario in the Middle East as well?
Yeah, it depends on the country itself. But here in Saudi Arabia, for example, they were very, very strict, and we were one of the luckiest countries in the global market that the interaction between the government and the people living in Saudi, they had the chance to cooperate together. The infrastructure of the technology based in the Saudi country made us very fast moving and ordering everything from online, shifting between offline to online, giving more chances to small and medium companies to reopen online rather than offline. They had restrictions from the beginning, which helped us nowadays to open easily and fastly gaining back our business in the market.
So are you afraid of, as COVID restrictions are lifted, that people might resume or go back to shopping in the physical world? Or do you think people have adapted to buying some things online and will forever buy things
Yeah,
online?
that's a very good question because the behavior that they had and the good service that they shifted on during the COVID period gave them another option, another fast option, fast payment, online payment, fast moving like order management, and even return management was so easy that even people who are old enough as a generation or even naive or very far from the technology, they had to have a mobile application or a tablet to use the technology by force.
I see.
But as soon as they kicked on online, they were adapted to it easily. So yes, they may shift back, but not totally. I
Okay.
think it's going to be a total change behavior, and not only in the Saudi market, but the region and the global market. That the shift will be a different game changer as well.
So I like to usually segment, or I like to talk about generally two domains within all of these conversations, both the logistics and operations and the execution of the business, as well as the personal component.
Yeah.
So just shifting gears slightly, what would you say is the thing that motivates you to build Digipacks? Like, what's your mission? What would you say like your mission in life is?
And Digipacks, we're trying to get life easier in operation.
Hmm.
So coming back, I mean, I was like specialized in two different categories in my industry. One of them is supply chain, the other is quality assurance, and this is one of the two toughest industries, and no one likes them both. So trying to simplify the logistics to the clients that
Mhm.
make it easier to them to adopt, and trying to get the market focus on their brand, their focus on their business, and leaving the operation of the logistics aside to Digipacks to simplify the logistics in the market.
And what would you say it takes for a given day to feel extra satisfying to you? Like what happens to happen on a given day for you to feel like, wow, today was a great day. I feel very satisfied in working towards that mission.
Believe me, every single day is a new challenge, and every single day passes. We need to have a very good number in performance, adapting with the market, attracting more clients on ground, and reopening a structure. So
Mhm.
my satisfaction is having one unified service all around the region. Someday I'll have countries covered by Digibacks in fulfillment, last mile companies, trucking, moving in and out, segments, end to end, flighting forwards, and whatsoever. So the satisfaction of having a end to end solution and covering every single segment of the supply chain will have a slightly again satisfaction.
So during these early days of company building, there's just a lot of responsibilities that always need to be juggled, even with a good number of co-founders and a relatively healthy staff list. I imagine
Yeah,
there's still a lot of work to go around. Is that fair to say?
yeah, absolutely. There's tons of work, especially in the beginning of the beginning of building everything from scratch.
How do you choose to balance your time at work and working on work related things and thinking about work related things and I guess your non-work component of life?
There's nothing. It's all
Okay.
about work.
I hear that
You
answer a
cannot.
lot.
So every single thing that they talk about is life balance. That doesn't exist in the
Okay, work
entrepreneurs.
work balance it is.
No. It's nothing related to it. We work 24/7, literally. I
Okay.
mean, some days we dream about numbers and deliveries and our dreams just to fulfill and satisfy our clients.
Do you have a ballpark number of how many hours you sleep per day?
Yeah, I was like 2 weeks back. I was like, by coincidence, I opened my iPhone
Yeah.
and I snapped a shot, and I was like reading how many average per day and per week I was sleeping. And it was like coincidence, 3+ hours. It didn't reach to 4 hours per day.
True.
Yeah. And I was like, really? Is this correct? I don't know. So that happens
There,
normally in the
there's a
entrepreneur's
small
life.
percentage of the population apparently that have this like I don't know if it's a medical disorder or not, but they feel fully refreshed and like satisfied off of call it 3 to 4 hours of sleep. And I feel
Yeah.
like, man, I am so envious of those people. Like I feel like I need at least 6.5 to function properly.
That was in the back old days, and the that we have 5 hours, 6 hours to sleep. Nowadays, it's impossible.
One of
Yeah,
my fears is the fact that if I'm sleep deprived, I'll make poor judgment calls, or I'll say, I mean, like this is a recording, right? Like there's a good chance in one of my calls I'll just say something stupid because I was just like too tired to think properly. Are you afraid? Like,
absolutely.
are you afraid of making poor judgment calls from sleep deprivation?
Um, I mean, for the last 5 years, 6 years, we got used to it, literally. I mean, if we have a vacation, if we have a holiday, we have days off, and even the weekend, we adapted to work right now.
Okay.
So there's no weekends. I mean, even in family time, we need to have open laptops, tablets, calls all the way, and the different time zones and the different connections between companies and countries. We need to sacrifice in one way or another in order to have the business on flow on the ground.
Do you have a ballpark timeline of how long you want to sustain this lifestyle? Because I imagine it's not a desirable lifestyle until, call it, 100 years old. Very few people at 97 are working 24/7.
Believe me, I used to work with a Swiss company,
Okay.
a multinational pharma company, and it was like for 5 years. And my boss was German, and we was very strict. And that time, it was like same as an entrepreneur time. Like I thought it's gonna be changed. I was working in the weekends and the holidays as well, so there was not that change, and I got used to it.
Okay.
So it's like it's a life. Sometimes you have to have a break, of course, like a breathe of mind, a breathe of soul. But every single day you have to have these breaks as well, but not a long one as well.
Mhm.
So it has to have a balance, but not as a definition as you could see it or read it on books or YouTube clips. It's totally something else.
Hmm. So do you take vacation every year? Is that a thing you do?
I don't remember last time. It was like 6-7 years back.
Okay.
Yeah. Vacations for us, like it's for the family. To be honest with
Yeah.
you,
Okay.
it's not for us.
Mm.
We're trying to fit our schedule, having all the gadgets, devices with us, just in case. But like we're trying to get the business on board, business life, everything. It's not a healthy way to act, but it's gonna be like a period of time. Then the rolling out of the business will be on auto mode.
Do you
But
have a ETA? Like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
maximum 4 years, 4 to 5 years max. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as we kick off the region-wise, covering all the countries, we're now expanding into Egypt and in another country in Oman for the next quarter. We already signed the contracts and everything, and we're expanding to it. So as soon as we get on hold, we're having operation teams there, here and there, and having rounds of investment, expanding more. So I think maximum 3 to 5 years from now, we're gonna have a settlement of a broad and much easier life going on.
So let's say we fast forward a good number of years and Digipacks is the number one 5BL company for every I don't know, every e-commerce store on the planet, including Amazon. What do you do
Wow.
then? What would you want to do then? And I'm assuming you at some point you also make hundreds of millions of dollars. Like what would you do with your life?
That's a tough question. Well, kicking back, cigar, beaches, handing, but I don't think like working in goals and expansion in segments. Logistics is the backbone of any country
Right.
and in every industry. So logistics is not a one-time shot, one goal. It's a multi-goals, multi-definitions, expansion, challenges, acquiring companies. Now, we just acquired one new startup, and we have two other new startups on board that we want to acquire them 100%. And expanding in these industries will like involve in more innovation, more technologies. And as soon as we reach to a global level, and that time, 3 to 5 years maybe from now,
Mhm.
the technology will have to have more advanced technology, more robotics, more automation. So even on that level, a small company as a small startup may kick fast and overseeing our logistic companies and more challenges. So nowadays we don't have any competition with another 4PL, but who knows, within the next 3 years, another company comes with a more tech company
Yeah.
advanced than us. That now the challenge begins.
So you
So
mentioned
yeah.
a few acquisitions. How like I think it's relatively uncommon for relatively new companies to be thinking about M&A. How
Yeah.
did you decide that was the right decision for your business, or how did your team decide that was the right decision as a business to do that?
Very good. So we're trying to expand as fast as possible in multi segments under the umbrella of logistics as a 4PL. So in order to do that, either we have more investments on board and to run more focused businesses and allocate teams under each single segment. Or we have a company who is a startup in the logistics, having the one of these segments already planned, implemented, kicked off in the market, making revenues, but still they're into the beginning of the launch of their business. So maximum 9, 12 months, maximum 15 months, but they have revenues, they have clients, and they want to expand more. So come on board. We're giving you shares. We're going to acquire your company. You focus on this segment. We're empowering you. We push you more to expand and serving our 4PL concept as well.
I see. The next question I have on this list is, what advice do you wish you knew or would you give yourself 10 years ago? Or maybe even 5 years ago?
Wow. 5 years ago is like focusing more how to build a startup in a very precise structural growth matter. That's like 4 years back when we began everything, we had to have everything from scratch. Trying to get everything from YouTube, learning from accelerators, incubators. But even though when you go inside an incubator and an accelerator, they don't know everything about the market.
Right.
Most of the things are theoretically moving into the on ground. It doesn't make the same concept. It doesn't make sense on the same level. So having something learned from the beginning as a structure, how to build a startup, especially in this region and the Saudi, it all began like 5 years back, literally. The whole region was low in number of VCs, angel investors, even startups and ideas on how to innovate from it. So everything is brand new. Then the last 10 years, nothing was available. Like you have only 5, 10 companies and that's it. Normal traditional companies as well. It's a total different than Europe or US market as well, or even China and South Asia. So the only concept that we had is we have to have people on board from outside the region, helping us to grow more, helping us to get the right knowledge on board. So if I had the chance to reach out 5 years back, people with expertise from US, from even South Asia, we had the chance to build up in the right way and even attracting investors from that regions into the local region companies as well.
How do you choose to find these specific people to talk to, I guess, call it consulting or advice? Like, how do you reach out across the world to someone that you have effectively only a weak connection with?
So it's all about the connections through LinkedIn.
Okay.
So literally, I had someone to know someone somewhere. Nowadays, we have a lot of Arabian guys living in the Silicon Valley, in the Bays and Bays area, and knowing people of theirs, having an interaction with VCs, angel investors, and even we had some angel investors or VCs coming to the region. So even 500 startups, they opened first an office in Dubai, UAE, then they open a legal entity in Saudi. So even these guys are moving into the region. We had a company which is MSA Capital from China and other companies from China as well, investing in startups within the last 2 to 3 years. So it's happening right now fastly and growing in a very fast track. But 5, 10 years from now, back, it wasn't available.
Okay. And the last question I have is, or actually 2 last questions. What advice would you give founders or soon-to-be founders who are watching this episode?
1, go to the market directly. You have a theory, you have something. Don't waste your money, don't waste time. Go to the market, know your client, know what they need, especially. Stop thinking about what a client may want or may require. Go to the market, ask them, have more and more questions answered on the table. What's the best scenario? Even if you have one single idea to solve one single issue, that's a startup.
Okay.
That's literally a startup and going ahead and build from that idea. Don't waste your time having like one solution that serves multitasks or multi-issues. Work on one issue, solving this issue. That's a beginning of the startup. There's a big saying from the West. They always say, if your product is too perfect, you're too late. So push directly to the market.
I like that
with
quote.
Yeah.
Do you know who said it?
No.
Okay,
But I
I'll
like
have to look that up later.
Do you?
No, I totally agree with the sentiment. I feel like I actually I think startups are all about speed. I think the faster you can be, even though the
Absolutely.
solution is
Absolutely.
imperfect, people who are the early adopter type, or the people who want to be the cutting edge of technology, recognize
Yeah.
it's called the cutting edge for the reason. Like it works well most of the time, hopefully, and it solves a
Yeah.
problem that no one else has solved at a more efficient level. But if there's going to be some bugs, there's going to be some kinks, things don't work perfectly. There's going to be
That's
some
usual.
times you need to just patch things up. But
Absolutely.
overall, I think on average, technology moves the world forward, and being near to the cutting edge is generally an advantage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I do agree on this. And I mean, I've seen entrepreneurs and startups working their beginning of the business by WhatsApp, selling everything on WhatsApp, as simple and easy as possible. And as soon as they got the hook of more transactions, more orders, then they began thinking about the technology.
I see. And the last question I have for all of our guests is like, what's the best way our viewers can get in touch with you if that's something they would like to do?
So we have the website digipacks.com, or even my email hasan@digipacks.com. They can shoot us an email, contact through LinkedIn. There's a form, contact through us through the website. Anything through that matter, we're helping to survive and to overseeing the logistics complexity and simplifying it as soon as possible.